So Chris was introduced to squash when he was probably, I'm going to say 6 years old. I think he absolutely always envisioned himself turning pro. It would be no different than a kid watching Major League Baseball and saying, someday that's going to be me. Chris absolutely believed someday he was going to be good enough to join the pro tour. And so after Rodney Isles came off the tour, living in Australia with his wife, Michelle, he would make trips over to the United States, and he ended up coaching Chris for a couple of years. And then after Rod moved on, Rodney Martin, fellow Australian, became Chris's coach. These are two guys that both had extraordinary work ethics, and Rodney Martin particularly loved telling Chris that if he did the work, it would show up on the court when he was playing as a young junior in tournaments. And that was just absolutely pounded into Chris's head. You have to do the work. Both Rodney Isles and Rodney Martin, were very tough taskmasters. And I think that they had tremendous influence on Chris as a junior player. It's important to add that there were aspects of his training that he absolutely hated. He used to train in Australia, usually in our winter, their summer. It was brutally hot, and Isles would have him running up sand dunes, and Chris would throw up, and it was brutal. The pressure that Chris put on himself as a junior was self-imposed. He thought that maybe Dartmouth would be a good fit. It turned out to be a spectacular fit. He played number one for Dartmouth all 4 years, all Ivy, all American. He won the Kenneth Archibald Award, which is awarded to one athlete typically in their senior year. Out of, I think, about 500 athletes, and Chris won it in his senior year. And it's awarded to an athlete not just based on athletics, but scholarship and ethics, moral ethics. And I was so proud of him. That was one of the single most proud moments I ever had as a parent, to be there at that ceremony when that happened. He graduated from Dartmouth, immediately turned pro. That is, it's so not glamorous. The pro tour is not glamorous. Somebody should try to imagine what's Winnipeg like in February. It's tough. And then fast forward, he happened to be on Nantucket. It was 2016. He was going to the airport. His sister was driving him, and a gal came around the corner, hit them head on. And Chris hit the back seat, then the front seat, the front of the back seat, very hard. It became apparent very quickly that he had suffered a concussion. What are the symptoms? What happens? Some things happen right away. Some things start to bubble up to the surface a month or two later. And what was terrifying was we didn't know what was the right course of treatment. And so a number of doctors said, we'll put you on antidepressants, a lot of them. Others said, you need to go lie in a dark room and stay there for maybe forever. And Chris spiraled into depression in a way that was utterly terrifying. And I was way out of my depth. And I think the scariest moment was saying, okay, can you get your mind back? But he had to put his faith in these specialists, and he had to do, paging Rod Martin, he had to do the work. He had to slowly come back, but he had to do all of the physical therapy that's necessary. And how he ever did this, how my son managed to come out of that concussion, again, which was terrifying from the standpoint of how depressed he got, terrifying, managed to come out of that, get back on the court, start to train again, to think that he could resume his professional career, and in the spring of 2017, win the U.S. National Championship in Philadelphia. I think that would be, without doubt, the greatest single moment of his young life, was managing to do that. And I think he learned a great deal about resilience, and that there were no shortcuts, and that it was going to take time and patience and effort, and it was worth it. He had so many people supporting him and encouraging him and believing in him, really, that I really think that probably was the single biggest factor that brought Chris to that moment when he beat Andrew Douglas in the finals in 2017. And then he did it again in 2018. And that was a thrill. And Chris, where is he now? He's about to turn 30 and wants to continue to play and coach and mentor. He's very much a part of the urban squash scene. It's also a big part of the cause called Squash Cancer at Dartmouth, and they partner with the Dartmouth Hitchcock Hospital, his business, which is Raya Eyewear, his new performance eyewear company that he founded with his middle school friend, Jordan Kemp. I typically talk to Chris literally almost every day. And one of the things that Chris loves to start the conversation with, he starts the conversation by saying, "Ma, you're going to be so proud of me." And I always interrupt and say, "Wait a minute, I'm always proud of you."